You don't belong here." The words tore through the silence of room 214 like a slap across the face. Then came the second blow crueler, louder. "Go back to where you came from. We don't need cheap ghetto trash like you." For a moment the room froze. Even the hum of the overhead lights seemed to falter. Maya William didn't flinch. She stood in front of the whiteboard, marker still in hand, and calmly finished the final step of the equation. Her fingers didn't shake. Her breath didn't hitch. Her answer was clear, neat, circled. X equals 3. It was fourth period honors Algebra 2 Clearwater High School. A Tuesday morning with gray skies outside and cold judgment inside. Maya was the only black student in the room, and the newest one, too. She turned slowly, eyes scanning 26 stunned faces. Some looked down. Some glanced nervously between her and the girl sitting near the window, Brittany Langston. Brittany's blue eyes sparkled with disdain. Her lips curled with satisfaction. She had said it, out loud, in front of everyone, and no one had stopped her. Mrs. Halverson, the math teacher, blinked as if snapping out of a trance. "Brittany, that's enough." But the damage had been done. Maya met Brittany's gaze and said, quiet but firm, "I'm not going anywhere." A long silence followed. No one breathed, no one blinked. That was the kind of moment that stands on the edge of loneliness when you still have to find the courage to stand up for yourself. If you believe that true bravery doesn't need to shout, tap like to show your support. And tell us in the comments who you're listening to this story with. Who knows, maybe someone near you is also hearing Maya's story right now. Mrs. Halverson cleared her throat. "Well, Maya, that answer is correct. Very well done." No one clapped. No one whispered. Even Brittany sat back in her chair, eyes still locked on Maya but now just a shade colder. Maya walked back to her seat, third row from the back, left corner, near the radiator that clicked like a heartbeat. She didn't look left or right. Her steps were steady, her back straight. She'd been through worse. After class, she packed her things in silence and stepped into the hallway. The other students parted like water, not dramatically, just enough, like her presence required space. By the time lunch came, Maya already knew what today would be: long, quiet, and lonely. She sat at the far end of the cafeteria. Same seat as yesterday. Peanut butter sandwich, orange slices, a bottle of water. She didn't make eye contact with anyone, didn't look for kindness. She'd learned not to expect it. From across the room, Brittany watched her, surrounded by her friends, laughing louder than necessary, eyes flicking in Maya's direction every few minutes. "She's not going to last," Brittany said, tearing open a bag of chips. "People like her never do. You saw how fast she did that math problem, though." Mason Brittany's sometime, friend, sometime, boyfriend murmured. "I didn't even understand the question." "Exactly," Brittany said, crunching a chip. "It's not natural." Maya didn't hear them, but she could feel them, like heat on the back of her neck, the kind of heat that wasn't about sunlight. That afternoon, when the final bell rang, Maya walked to her locker. It was open. Her books were there, her binder, her coat, but her backpack was gone. She froze, looked left, right, checked the floor. Nothing. Then she heard the laugh. She turned. Brittany stood 10 feet away, twirling a backpack strap in her fingers. "Looking for this?" she asked, smiling wide. Maya didn't answer. "Basketball court," Brittany said. 15 minutes. You want it back? You come get it." Maya stared at her, then turned and walked away. She didn't go to the court. Not yet. Instead, she went to the library. It smelled like old books and lemon-scented floor polish. Mr. Carter, the librarian, looked up as she entered. He could tell right away something wasn't right. "They touch your things again?" he asked gently. Maya nodded. "You going to tell the principal?" "No," she said. He closed his laptop. "Why not?" "They wouldn't believe me." Mr. Carter was silent for a moment. Then he stood and walked to the counter. He pulled out a book, Voices in the Silence, and handed it to her. "You don't have to fight with fists," he said, "but you do need to stand." Maya looked at the cover, then at him. "They think I'm weak." "They're wrong," he said. "But it's not about what they think. It's about what you do next." Outside, the bell for late buses rang. Maya stood still for a moment longer, heart tight in her chest. Then she spoke quietly, but with steel in her voice. I'll go to the court. Mr. Carter nodded. Keep your hands open. Keep your head high. Maya smiled just slightly. Always. The basketball court behind Clearwater High was quiet this time of day. Shadows stretched long across the cracked asphalt, and the metal bleachers stood empty, creaking faintly in the wind. A lone soda can rolled across the far corner, clinking with every twitch of the breeze. It was the kind of place where things could happen and no one would know until long after. Maya walked toward the court with measured steps. Her boots scuffed softly against the pavement, her fists loose at her sides. She carried no anger, no fear, only the weight of all the times she had been told to shrink. Brittany Langston was already there. So were Sasha and Kenzie, her two constant shadows. They stood near the center circle, Maya's backpack resting on the ground between them like a trophy. Well, look who actually showed up, Brittany said, grinning. Sasha smirked. Thought you'd run back to your side of town. Maya said nothing. She stopped at the edge of the painted quay and looked Brittany in the eye. Give it back. Brittany stepped closer. Or what? Behind them, Sasha pulled out her phone and started recording. Kenzie leaned against the hoop pole, arms crossed, watching with the kind of grin that knew something was about to happen. You think you're better than us? Brittany sneered. Coming in here with your little perfect grades and your attitude like we're lucky to have you? I don't think I'm better, Maya replied. I just want what's mine. Brittany reached out and pushed Maya's shoulder. Not hard, just enough to test the line. Maya didn't move. Kenzie stepped forward then, smirking. Let's see what's under that tough act. She yanked on Maya's backpack strap, pulling her closer. That's when it happened. A quick movement, Brittany lunged forward and grabbed the hem of Maya's skirt, tugging it hard. The fabric jerked. Maya stumbled slightly, catching herself. A sudden laugh. Brittany's high and ugly. Sasha zoomed in with her phone. Oh, this is gold. Maya stepped back, breath sharp now. You really want to do this? Brittany sneered. We're just getting started. Kenzie reached again this time. Her fingers curled toward Maya's wrist, but they never made it. Maya moved fast. She sidestepped, caught Kenzie's arm midair, and twisted. Kenzie yelped and stumbled. Brittany tried to grab her from the other side, but Maya ducked low, spun, and swept a foot behind Brittany's knee. Thud. Brittany hit the court with a grunt, dust kicking up around her. Sasha gasped, her phone still up but her fingers frozen. Maya stood above them calm, centered. I asked once, she said. Give it back. Kenzie scrambled up and backed away. Sasha didn't speak. Brittany lay stunned for a second longer, then sat up, brushing her palms against the pavement. You just made a big mistake, she hissed. You'll pay for this. Maya picked up her backpack. I already have. She turned and walked off the court, her shoulders squared, heart pounding in her chest like war drums. But her face was steel. By the time she reached the front gates, her phone buzzed. She didn't look at it. Later that night, she sat at the kitchen table, her mom pouring tea into chipped mugs. The kitchen was small, the fridge humming in the corner, a calendar from the community health clinic pinned to the wall. Her mother, still in scrubs, sat down with a tired sigh. You're quiet. I'm okay, Maya said. That kind of quiet. Her mother waited. Maya took a sip of tea, let the warmth settle. They took my backpack. They tried to humiliate me. Her mother's hands clenched slightly around the mug. And? I didn't let them. Her mom nodded slowly, eyes glassing over for just a second. You don't have to fight every time. But sometimes they don't leave you a choice. She nodded again. Then came the second buzz of the night. This time, Maya looked. A message from Janelle Leone of the girls in her history class. You okay? Maya hesitated, then typed back. Fine. Why? 3 dots blinked. Then came the link. She tapped it. The screen loaded fast. A video already posted on Clearwater High's student forum. It had her name, her face, her hands grabbing Brittany, her foot sweeping her down. But it was only part of the truth. The video had been cut, trimmed, rearranged. It looked like Maya had attacked without provocation. Her stomach twisted. The caption read, Violence in our school? Again? Comments flowed underneath. Expel her. Knew she was trouble. Why do we even let people like her in here? Her hands trembled, just slightly. She clicked off the screen. Then the tears came quiet, hot, unwelcome. She didn't cry often, but now she didn't stop them. The next morning, Maya walked through the school gates with her head held high but her heart heavy. Whispers met her like a wind. In class, no one looked at her. At lunch, her table was more isolated than ever. And on the walls, someone had printed screenshots from the video, taped them outside the library. Brittany walked past her in the hallway, tossed her hair back, and said, loud enough to hear, "Should have stayed where you came from." Sasha laughed behind her. Maya said nothing. She walked to her locker, opened it, and froze. Inside was a folded piece of paper, unmarked. She opened it carefully. Inside, a flash drive, and a single note, handwritten in blue ink. "This is the full truth. I saw what happened. Thought you might need it." No name, no signature, just evidence. Her fingers clutched the small device as if it were oxygen. That night, she plugged it into her mom's old laptop. The file loaded. Full color, steady frame. The entire incident start to finish. From the moment she arrived at the court to the moment she walked away. Kenzie grabbing her wrist. Brittany yanking her skirt. Their voices, their threats. Here calm, here restraint, here defense. No cuts, no tricks. Her truth. Maya leaned back in her chair, tears drying on her cheeks. And for the first time in 2 days, her breath came easy. Tomorrow, she'd go to the principal. Tomorrow, she'd show them all. Justice wasn't loud, but sometimes it came in a flash drive, and a quiet hand that refused to stay folded. The next morning, the hallways of Clearwater High felt narrower than usual. The lights above buzzed softly, and Maya could feel the weight of 100 eyes even when no one was looking directly at her. Posters for homecoming hung crooked on the walls. Laughter echoed from corners she didn't dare glance toward. The video was still alive, still spreading, but she had something now, something stronger than silence. The flash drive sat heavy in the pocket of her jeans. Maya pressed her palm against it as she walked toward the front office. Her steps were steady, though her stomach twisted like rope in a storm. At the receptionist's desk, she stood quietly until Mrs. Avery looked up. "Can I help you, sweetie?" she asked, her tone polite but distracted as she flipped through attendance sheets. "I need to speak with Principal Gomez," Maya said. Mrs. Avery gave her a quick glance over the rim of her glasses. "Is it urgent?" "Yes, ma'am," Maya replied. "It's about the video." Those words snapped Mrs. Avery into full attention. She picked up the phone, murmured something into it, and a minute later, the principal's door opened. "Send her in," came the calm voice behind the door. Principal Elena Gomez was a sharp-eyed woman in her early 50s. Her graying hair was swept into a low twist, and her navy pantsuit looked ironed by someone who understood power. She gestured toward the chair across from her desk. Maya sat down, carefully, like she was placing her weight on the edge of something fragile. Principal Gomez folded her hands. "I've been expecting you. I have the full video," Maya said. "No hesitation, no trembling." Gomez arched an eyebrow. "The original?" Maya pulled the flash drive from her pocket and placed it on the desk. "Someone gave it to me. They saw everything." Principal Gomez didn't reach for it right away. "Why didn't you come to me sooner?" Maya looked her straight in the eyes. "Because I didn't think it would matter." There was no anger in her voice, just a tired sort of truth that settled into the room like dust. Principal Gomez leaned forward and took the drive. "I'll review this. If it's what you say it is, we'll take action." Maya stood, gave a small nod, and turned to leave. "Miss William," Gomez said before she reached the door, "thank you for coming forward." Maya paused. "I didn't do it for me. I did it so no one else gets called names and then made to look like the problem." Outside the office, Maya exhaled. She didn't know what would happen next, but at least she had done what was right. That afternoon, the announcement came over the intercom. A full school assembly, mandatory, immediately following 7th period. Whispers erupted in classrooms. Students glanced at one another. Phones buzzed. By the time Maya stepped into the auditorium, the air inside felt heavy, electric. Rows of folding chairs were filled with students, their faces curious, bored, or blank. Teachers stood near the exits, arms folded. Principal Gomez took the stage. Her heels echoed against the polished wood floor as she approached the podium. She adjusted the mic, cleared her throat. "There's been a lot of confusion this week," she began, her voice even and firm. A video was circulated, a video that showed only part of the story. A rustle swept through the crowd. Maya sat in the second-to-last row, heart pounding like a drum under her ribs. Principal Gomez continued. "Today, we're going to show the entire truth." The lights dimmed. The projector screen lowered. And then it played. The full clip. Kenzie grabbing Maya's arm. Brittany pulling her skirt. Their jeers. Their laughter. Then Maya, defending her some controlled, calm. The auditorium was silent. When it ended, Principal Gomez stepped back up. "This was the truth," she said. "The student who shared the edited video will be facing disciplinary action, and the students seen initiating the confrontation have already been suspended pending further review." A pause. Clearwater High does not tolerate bullying. We do not tolerate harassment, and we certainly do not tolerate racism subtle or overt. No one clapped. No one moved. Then, slowly, a few students turned toward Maya. Then more. From the front row, someone stood. It was Mason. He didn't speak, just gave her a firm nod. Then Lily stood up. Maya hadn't even known she was here. One by one, students began to rise. Not everyone, but enough. Later that day, as students were leaving for the buses, Maya stopped at her locker. She turned the dial, opened the door and saw it. A folded note taped to the inside. She pulled it off and opened it. In thick, careful handwriting, it read, "You didn't just speak for yourself. You spoke for the rest of us who stay quiet. Thank you. Ver." It wasn't signed, but at the bottom was a simple drawing of a small flame. That night, at home, Maya sat at the kitchen table again. Her mother, still in scrubs, listened silently as Maya told her everything about the flash drive, the assembly, the silence that turned to standing. Her mother put a hand on hers. "I'm proud of you," Maya swallowed. "I thought I was going to lose. I thought they'd believe the lie." Her mother squeezed gently. "Sometimes they do, but not this time, and that matters." Later, as Maya lay in bed, she thought of the note, of the flame drawn at the bottom. A quiet symbol, not big, not loud, but fire always starts small. And tomorrow, she would go back to class. And this time, she wouldn't walk alone. The next morning, Maya walked through the school gates with her head high and her shoulders back. The chill in the early autumn air didn't bother her. She had walked this path every day for 3 weeks. But today, something felt different not just around her, but inside her too. The hallway chatter softened as she passed, not because they had stopped whispering, but because they weren't whispering about her anymore. Not like before. Some students looked up and nodded, and though the gestures were small, they carried weight. Not everyone was friendly, but they weren't hostile either. The temperature had shifted. Even the girl who used to snicker as Maya passed Alyssa from chemistry gave her a quick glance and turned away without a word. By the time she got to her locker, there was another note taped neatly to it. She peeled it off and read it. "Keep walking tall. You made them see." See. She didn't know who C was, but she smiled anyway. The locker clicked open, and everything was where it should be. No missing backpack. No torn notebooks. No threats in Sharpie. For the first time since she arrived at Clearwater, she felt to normal. Not special, not different. Just a girl trying to get to class on time. Second period was history with Mr. Blanchard, a wiry man with a passion for Revolutionary War trivia and coffee breath that could curl paint. Maya sat in the third row by the window, same spot as always. But today, there was someone new 2 seats over. A girl Maya hadn't seen before. She had long brown hair tied in a low ponytail and wore a navy blue hoodie with the school's logo. Her jeans were ripped at the knees, and her black boots were scuffed. She sat with one leg up on the chair, arms crossed, chewing the end of a pen. There was something about her posture closed off, like a warning. Mr. Blanchard called roll. "Carson, Isabel?" The girl raised her hand without looking up. "Bell," she corrected. The name flickered in Maya's mind. Carson. Langston. It clicked. Bell was Brittany Langston's cousin. As if sensing the recognition, Bell turned her head slowly, and met Maya's gaze. Her eyes were calm, unreadable, but her mouth curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. Maya held the stare. Belle broke it first, turning back to her notebook. Mr. Blanchard launched into a lecture about colonial taxation, but Maya barely heard it. Her instincts buzzed with warning. She'd seen that look before. Not the anger Brittany had wielded like a hammer, but something cooler, quieter, the kind of ice that cracked beneath your feet without warning. At lunch, Maya sat at her usual table still on the edges, but not alone. Lily Chen slid her tray across from her and offered a small smile. "Is it okay if I sit?" Maya nodded. Of course. They ate in a quiet rhythm for a few minutes. Maya's peanut butter sandwich, Lily's salad and saltines until Lily spoke. "You saw her, didn't you?" "Belle?" Maya asked. Lily nodded. "I've seen her around before, but she doesn't usually come to this school. She's from East Ridge, got expelled last year." "For what?" Lily shrugged. "They never said, but I heard she broke a girl's nose, didn't even flinch." Maya's fingers tightened slightly around her water bottle. "She's not like Brittany," Lily added. "She doesn't yell, she waits." Maya looked at her. "So she's worse." Lily didn't argue. That afternoon, in the gym hallway, Maya found Belle waiting by her locker. She leaned against the wall, her arms folded, boots tapping lightly against the tile. "You got my cousin expelled," Belle said without preamble. Maya didn't stop walking. "Your cousin got herself expelled." Belle fell in step beside her. "You embarrassed her. My family doesn't forget that." Maya stopped and turned. "Your family should think more about what they do, not how it looks when people finally see it." Belle didn't flinch. She stepped a little closer. "You think just because they clapped for you in an auditorium that you've won? You haven't." Maya met her eyes. "I didn't ask for clapping. I asked for the truth." Belle smiled then, and something about it chilled the air between them. "You talk like someone who still believes this place plays fair." And then she walked off, her boots echoing down the corridor. That evening, Maya sat at her kitchen table again, working through math problems and sipping hot chocolate. Her mom was on the couch, half asleep with a book open on her chest. Maya's phone buzzed. A notification. She opened it. It was a video. No title. No caption. Just a clip of her walking in the hallway taken from behind, like someone had been following her. The angle shifted. Another clip. Another hallway. And then, in the final clip, Belle's voice. "You're not safe." Maya's breath caught. She looked toward her mom, still dozing peacefully. She didn't say anything. Instead, she closed the video and sent it to herself to save as evidence. She knew what this was. Not a fight. A warning. And warnings meant the game had changed. The next morning, Maya walked into school prepared. Her phone charged. Her eyes open. She kept to busy hallways. Avoided staying after class alone. Spoke only when necessary. Belle didn't approach her, but Maya felt her presence, like a shadow at the edge of every room. In English, Belle sat in the back row, eyes on Maya the entire class. In biology, she trailed behind Maya to the restroom but said nothing. The silence was worse than words. By the end of the day, Maya found a sticky note on her locker. TikTok. No name. No context. Just the kind of threat you couldn't prove. She peeled it off and crumpled it, her jaw tight. She wouldn't run. She wouldn't shrink. But this wasn't over. And Maya knew some storms didn't announce themselves with thunder. Some just waited, patient and cold, until you stopped watching the sky. By the end of that week, Maya had memorized the sound of Belle's boots, the rhythm of them, the pause before she turned a corner, the way they echoed faintly when the hallway was just empty enough to hear them behind her. Belle didn't speak again, not directly, but her silence wrapped tighter around Maya every day. A stare from across the cafeteria, a brief flash of her reflection in the hallway mirror behind the vending machine, a pair of folded arms just outside the restroom door. There was no shoving, no yelling, nothing the administration could discipline, but the message was clear. You're being watched. And Maya knew that fear didn't need volume to be loud. It was the next Tuesday when things began to twist. During 6th period study hall, Maya opened her email to find a message from an anonymous sender. No subject, just one sentence. "You'll regret what you did to her." Attached was a photo Maya walking across the school parking lot, head down, backpack slung over one shoulder, taken that morning, from behind. She felt her fingers go cold. She closed the email and logged out. That afternoon, as the final bell rang, Lily found her by the library. "You okay?" she asked, her brow creased. "Not really," Maya said. Lily shifted, hesitant. "I saw something weird on the student forum. Someone posted a new thread, proof Maya's not so innocent. But it's locked. Admins took it down." Maya's voice was flat. "Too late. People saw it. You think Belle's behind it?" "I don't think. I know." Lily lowered her voice. "We could go to Principal Gomez." Maya shook her head. "They'll say it's just rumors. Hearsay. Again." Lily bit her lip. "Then we need something they can't ignore." That evening, Maya sat at her kitchen table once more. Her mom was working the night shift, so the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. She opened her notebook, not the one for school, but the one she had started just weeks ago. She flipped through pages filled with notes, times, incidents, small drawings. She had been documenting everything. She looked at the sticky note still folded in her pencil pouch. Tick-tock. Maya picked up her pen and wrote at the top of a fresh page. Day, 17, shadow pressure, indirect escalation, digital stalking. She paused, then wrote something else. No more silence. The next day, Maya brought her notebook to school. She didn't carry it openly. She kept it tucked inside her trig textbook. Between periods, she updated it. Every hallway encounter, every whisper she caught from the edge of hearing, every glare from Belle. By Thursday, it happened again. A new video leaked this time from weeks ago, before the fight with Brittany. It was spliced footage from the cafeteria, angled in a way that made it look like Maya had started an argument with a boy over a seat. The voiceover said, "She's always been trouble. Just ask around." It wasn't true. It wasn't even close. But it didn't matter. Perception spread faster than fact. That day, Maya found a red marker line across her locker. A single word beneath it. Fake. She didn't cry. She didn't lash out. Instead, she walked straight to the principal's office and asked for 5 minutes. Principal Gomez led her into the conference room, sat across the table, and asked, "What do you need to show me, Maya?" Maya opened her notebook. She laid it down, carefully, intentionally. "Everything," she said. It took 15 minutes. She explained the emails, the photos, the hallway patterns. She showed timestamps, dates, names she'd overheard. She listed witnesses. She played the edited videos and then showed the original versions Lily had helped her retrieve from backup drives. When she was done, Principal Gomez sat in silence. Then she said, "This is organized, documented, painstaking." Maya nodded. "Because they're not sloppy. They're smart. Belle's smart. This isn't bullying in the hallway. It's something more." Gomez took a long breath. "We'll open an official investigation. We'll check the server logs and bring in digital forensics. But Mayathis is going to stir things up. Are you ready for that?" Maya didn't hesitate. "They already stirred it. I'm just refusing to let them bury me under it." The next day, a school-wide email was issued. It said the administration was investigating unauthorized edits of student media, online harassment, and stalking behavior. Students were reminded of the school's digital conduct policy. Belle didn't look at Maya once that day, but that didn't stop the whispers. "That girl can't let it go. She's just making things worse. She's playing the victim." But for every whisper, there was a new look in someone's eyes, hesitant, conflicted. As if maybe, just maybe, they were beginning to wonder if Maya wasn't just a girl causing trouble. Maybe she was someone trying to survive it. Lily started sitting beside her in math. Mason offered her his notes in English without saying a word. Even Mrs. Halverson gave her a small nod one morning before class. It wasn't redemption. It wasn't a parade. But it was the beginning of space. That weekend, Maya went to the grocery store with her mom. On the way out, a voice called from behind. "Maya." She turned. It was Lily, with her older sister, who wore a hoodie with a local college name across it. "I told her about you," Lily said. "About what you're doing. She said you remind her of someone." "Who?" Maya asked. "Her." The sister stepped forward and offered her hand. "You keep pushing," she said. No matter how subtle they try to be, shine a light on all of it. I didn't do that when I was your age. I wish I had. Maya smiled, shook her hand, and for the first time in days, felt the knot in her chest loosen. When she got home, she sat at her desk and opened the notebook again. She turned to a blank page. At the top, she wrote, Day 21. They're starting to see. Then she added something else. Truth doesn't shout. It stands. And sometimes, it waits. And Maya knew this wasn't the end. But she had already stopped hiding. The following Monday began with clouds pressing low against the rooftops of Clearwater High, heavy with the promise of rain. The air was thick, still. Inside the school, the tension was just as dense. Rumors moved like electricity through the halls, sharp, fast, dangerous. Something was coming. Everyone felt it. No one knew what. Maya stepped into the building just before the first bell. Her steps were calm. Not because she felt calm, she didn't, but because she had learned to carry the storm without letting it shake her stride. Her notebook, worn and thick now, rested in her backpack. As she reached her locker, Mason approached. He didn't speak right away. He rubbed the back of his neck and looked around to make sure no one else was watching. They called Belle into the office, he said quietly. When? 15 minutes ago. With her mom. Maya nodded, closed her locker gently. Thank you. Mason hesitated, then added, For what it's worth, I think most of us knew something wasn't right. We just didn't want to be the ones to say it. That's how people like her get away with it, Maya said, meeting his eyes. They count on your silence. He didn't argue. He just gave her a small, respectful nod and walked off. Third period arrived like a wave breaking. Just as Maya sat down in English class, the PA system crackled. Attention students. We are calling an unscheduled assembly. Please report to the auditorium at this time. Teachers, escort your classes. A hush fell over the room. Miss Donnelly, the English teacher, stood slowly. Let's go, she said, gathering her attendance sheet. Students filed out with murmurs trailing behind them like smoke. Maya walked in the middle of the group, Lily just a step behind her. Do you think this is it? Lily whispered. Maya nodded once. It's time. The auditorium was full within minutes. Rows of students shifting, glancing around, buzzing. At the front, Principal Gomez stood with a folder in one hand, a serious expression in her eyes. Beside her, to the surprise of many, stood Officer Daniels from the district's Student Protection Division. The crowd quieted. Gomez stepped forward. Thank you all for coming. Today's assembly addresses recent events that have deeply affected our school community. As you know, we began an official investigation into incidents of online harassment, targeted bullying, and digital manipulation involving multiple students. Maya felt her pulse thudding in her throat. Gomez continued, her voice unwavering. We have confirmed that a series of videos were altered to present a false narrative. The student responsible for circulating the edited content, as well as other coordinated forms of intimidation, has been identified. A rustle moved through the students like a gasp barely swallowed. Belle Carson was led onto the stage from the side door. She wasn't in handcuffs. She wasn't crying. She wasn't glaring. She was expressionless. Behind her, her mother followed stiffly, arms crossed tightly, eyes unreadable. Gomez stepped aside. Officer Daniels took the mic. Miss Carson has violated multiple school codes and district policies. As a result, she will face a temporary suspension and a formal hearing with the school board regarding her return. But before we proceed with disciplinary action, Miss Carson and her guardian have agreed to speak before the student body. There was a pause. Bella stepped forward. She didn't hold a piece of paper. She didn't look rehearsed. But her voice, when it came, was low and steady. I never expected to be standing here. I didn't think it would go this far. I just thought, if I humiliated her, people would forget what happened to Brittany. I didn't think about what it would do to Maya. I didn't think about how it would feel to be followed, lied about, afraid. She glanced at Maya, only briefly. I don't expect forgiveness, but I am sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I was wrong, and because someone I hurt stood up anyway. The room was silent. Not tight-lipped silent, but a silence filled with something heavier. Belle stepped back. Her mother said nothing. Gomez returned to the mic. We want every student to feel safe and respected. Let this moment be a turning point. For this school. For this community. After the assembly, Maya didn't rush out. She stayed seated while most of the room emptied. Lily remained beside her. You okay? Maya nodded. Yeah. Then, from the aisle, a voice called softly. Hey Maya. It was a girl from Maya's chemistry class. Chloe. Red hair, glasses, usually quiet. Chloe stepped closer, holding out something in her hand. A small button pin with a paper backing. I made this, she said, a little embarrassed. It's just a thing, for people who want to stand with you. Maya turned it over. The button had a single word in bold type. Truth. She smiled. Thank you. That afternoon, as Maya walked through the hallways, something changed. People nodded. Not all, but enough. Some smiled. A few offered quiet thumbs up. And on the wall across from the library, where someone had once taped up a photo of her face with an ugly word scribbled beneath it, there was a new poster. It read, Silence protects no one. Standing up protects everyone. No name, no club, no claim. But Maya knew. She returned to her locker, opened it. Inside, another note waited. This one in the same handwriting as before. The clock's still ticking, but now they're listening. C. She didn't know who C was. Maybe she never would. But that didn't matter. She walked to her next class, the hall bright around her. And for the first time since her first day, no one looked at her like she didn't belong. They looked at her like someone who had weathered a storm and stayed standing. For a while, it felt like the storm had passed. The halls of Clearwater High grew quieter, not with fear but with a kind of worn-out relief. Belle's apology had rippled through the student body, like the aftershock of a long-forgotten truth. Some students shrugged it off. Others started watching their words, and just a few seemed to truly understand what Maya had carried through those weeks of silence, stares, and sabotage. But Maya knew better than to think it was over. Racism didn't disappear with a single apology. And silence. It could come back just as quickly as it had been broken. Still, there were changes, real ones. In history, when Maya spoke, no one rolled their eyes anymore. In algebra, students actually turned to her for help, not out of pity but out of recognition. And in the lunchroom, her table wasn't empty. Lily sat with her every day now, along with Chloe, and sometimes even Mason when he wasn't at basketball practice. They didn't talk about what had happened often, but it was there, in the way they showed up, quietly and consistently. One afternoon, Principal Gomez called Maya into her office again. This time it wasn't for a crisis. She handed Maya a printed sheet of paper. The district's launching a peer-led diversity council. They're asking me to nominate one student from Clearwater to represent the school at the first regional meeting next month. I'd like it to be you. Maya blinked. Me? Gomez nodded. You've shown strength, not just in standing up for yourself, but in showing others how to see differently. That's leadership, Maya. Maya read the form. Her name was already typed in the nomination field. Think about it, Gomez added. There's no pressure, but I think your voice could carry further than just these walls. That night, Maya sat at the kitchen table again, though this time, her mom was home, sitting across from her, flipping through work papers with a mug of tea. I'm not sure I'm ready, Maya admitted, showing her the nomination. Her mom looked over the paper, then raised her eyes. You were ready the moment you chose not to disappear. Maya smiled faintly. It's not that I don't want to help. It's that I'm tired. Her mom reached across the table, resting a hand over Maya's. Then help in a way that doesn't cost you everything. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion, baby. But if you still have light left to share, do it. The next morning, Maya turned in the form. Signed. But she didn't tell anyone. Not yet. She wanted to let her decision settle quietly, like the roots of something new. Days passed. A week. 2. It was a Friday afternoon, late October, when Maya felt it again, that strange pressure in the air. Not loud, not obvious, but familiar. As she packed her things in her locker, a voice came from behind. I see they gave you your throne. She turned slowly. A boy leaned against the locker 2 down from hers. Not one of Brittany's old crew. Not someone she knew well. He was tall, wore a gray hoodie, and had a smirk that didn't quite reach his eyes. Maya didn't answer. I'm just saying, he continued. You take down one white girl, and suddenly you get a seat at every table. Maya closed her locker with calm precision. I didn't take anyone down, she said. They just tripped over their own lies. He scoffed, stepped in slightly. You think things are different now? They're not. They're just quieter. Waiting. Maya looked at him, really looked. Are you threatening me? He smiled, stepped back. Just reminding you. Shadows don't vanish. They wait. With that, he turned and walked down the hall, disappearing around the corner. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the boy's voice in her head. The smugness, the warning. She didn't want to believe it meant anything. But she'd learned not to ignore the signs. The next day, she brought her notebook back out, the one filled with the events of the previous weeks. She hadn't written in it since Belle's apology. It had felt like a closing chapter. Now, she turned to a fresh page. Day 32. Echoes. She began to write not because she was scared, but because she was awake again. And then something strange happened. She received an email. No subject. No body. Just a video file attached. She stared at it for several seconds before clicking. It was security footage, blurry but unmistakable. It showed the same boy who had spoken to her near her locker. But this time, he wasn't just standing. He was placing something in another student's backpack. The video ended. No explanation. Just the truth. Again. Maya didn't recognize the student in the video. But someone had sent this to her. Someone who wanted her to see. At school on Monday, she printed it. Brought it to Principal Gomez. Explained everything. Gomez was quiet for a long time. I'll look into it, she said. Please don't let this be like before, Maya said. Don't wait until it's public to believe me. Gomez looked up. I won't. 2 days later, an announcement was made. The boy Trey Hammond was suspended for planting stolen answers to a test in another student's bag, hoping to frame them. It didn't go public. No assemblies. No apology. But Maya knew. She saw it in the way people looked at her now. Not with pity. Not with fame. With trust. And a little fear. Because now they understood something. She paid attention. She didn't forget. And she wasn't afraid to shine a light even when it meant standing alone. That afternoon, Maya found a new note in her locker. Truth again. Thank you. Keep watching. Some of us still can't speak. See. The handwriting was the same. Still no name. Still just a flicker of support from the shadows. Maya smiled, tucked the note into her notebook. And as she walked to class, the hallway didn't feel threatening. It felt like hers. Like something she had earned. Not because she wanted power, but because she'd learned how to protect peace. It started with a knock on the door. Not Maya's house, not the principal's office, but room 214, her Algebra 2 class. The same room where it all began. The knock came just as Mrs. Halverson was explaining exponential decay. Heads turned as the door opened. Standing there, backlit by the hallway light, was a girl none of them had seen in over a month. Brittany Langston. Her blonde hair was now shorter, cut just past the chin. Her eyes no longer glinted with that performative superiority. But they didn't look sorry either. She wore the school uniform cardigan over a white turtleneck, and her expression was unreadable. Mrs. Halverson froze, marker still raised in her hand. Brittany, she said cautiously. I'm on the list, Brittany replied. Reinstated after board review. A few students whispered. Others just stared. Maya felt her throat tighten but kept her eyes on her open notebook. Mrs. Halverson gestured toward an empty desk near the middle. Seat 6. Please take your materials out quietly. Brittany didn't look at Maya as she walked past. Didn't look at anyone, really. She sat, opened a notebook, began copying the equation on the board. The room had no idea how to breathe. Maya's pen stayed in motion, her face blank. But inside, something pulled taut. Not fear, not even anger. Something closer to memory and muscle. That night, Maya didn't write in her notebook. She just stared at it. Brittany was back. Not as the ringleader, not as the queen bee. Just a shadow of a name everyone used to fear. But Maya knew better than to assume it was over. The next few days passed in cautious silence. Brittany didn't speak to Maya. She didn't eat in the cafeteria. She left class exactly when the bell rang and never lingered in the hallways. And yet, Maya felt her presence like static in the air. On Thursday, During lunch, Lily leaned in across the table. She hasn't said a word, she whispered. She doesn't have to, Maya replied. Her silence used to be the loudest thing in the room. Chloe looked up from her salad. Do you think she's planning something? Maya shrugged. Maybe. Or maybe she's realizing what silence actually feels like when no one's clapping for you. But just when things seemed to settle, something shifted again. Friday morning, Maya arrived early for a diversity council prep meeting. The library was still dim, the windows letting in weak sunlight. Mr. Carter waved from his desk as she entered. Back room's open. They left you the Chromebook cart. She nodded, thanking him, and headed toward the back. On the table was a folder she didn't recognize. No label, no seal. Curious, she opened it. Inside, printed screenshots. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Her face in nearly every one. Pulled from school security footage, cafeteria angles, library entrances, hallway corners. Her stomach dropped. Underneath the photo, handwritten notes in sharp, slanted print. She plays the victim well. Watch how she manipulates teachers. She's not a threat. She's a virus. There was no signature, no sender, just a sticky note on the final page. Even shadows can bleed. Maya stared at it, frozen. She didn't cry. She didn't panic. She took out her phone and snapped pictures of every page. Then she closed the folder, picked it up, and carried it to Mr. Carter. He read one page, then two. His expression tightened, jaw working slowly. This was left for you? She nodded. Don't say anything else, he said. I'll get Gomez. 30 minutes later, Maya sat in the main office while Principal Gomez and Officer Daniels reviewed the materials in a closed room. Lily waited with her, silent, offering her presence like an anchor. When the door finally opened, Gomez walked out, holding the folder like it was evidence from a courtroom. This is disturbing, she said carefully. I think they want me to break, Maya replied. Officer Daniels joined her. Whoever compiled this had extended access to camera data. Not just hallway footage, internal servers. That's not something a regular student can pull off. So it's someone with access? Lily asked. Gomez nodded slowly. We'll trace the logins. But Maya, she lowered her voice. This is calculated and personal. If you feel unsafe, I don't want to leave, Maya said quickly. No one's asking you to, Gomez reassured her. But we are putting protections in place. That afternoon, as students filed into the auditorium for a routine safety drill, Gomez stepped up once again to the microphone. But this time, it wasn't scripted. We've recently been made aware of a campaign to surveil and intimidate a student using unauthorized access to internal security systems. This is being treated with the seriousness it demands. She didn't name names. She didn't look at Maya, but everyone in that room understood. And Maya felt the shift again. Not like the first time. Not like a victory, but like a war she hadn't chosen, was still quietly marching forward. Later that evening, Maya sat at her desk at home and opened her notebook. Day 39. The fire returned. It doesn't roar. It whispers. She paused, then added, but I've heard it before, and I am not flammable. Before she closed the book, she reached into her bag and pulled out the now familiar note from C, the one that had said, "Some of us still can't speak." She flipped it over, and for the first time, noticed something faint in the bottom corner. A hand-drawn compass, small, subtle. She didn't know what it meant. Not yet, but she had a feeling the map wasn't finished. It was the compass that kept her up that night. The little symbol drawn in blue ink so faint it barely existed, and yet once she saw it, Maya couldn't unsee it. The lines were careful, intentional, north, south, east, west. But it was the north line that was double underlined, a detail so precise it had to mean something. She turned the note over in her hand again and again. No initials, no name, just the same handwriting as the other, sharp, narrow, steady. Whoever C was, they were watching closely, not in a threatening way, in a protective way, like a silent lookout on a dark street. And Maya needed that right now, because the school felt colder since the folder appeared. The hallway conversations had returned, hushed but constant. Eyes lingered longer. Her name, once beginning to fade from lips, was back-tethered to words like target, troublemaker, and dangerous. Only this time, They weren't saying she was lying. They were afraid she was telling the truth too well. The investigation continued, but no name had been released. Whoever planted the surveillance folder was careful, smart. They'd used rerouted IP addresses, avoided logins, scrubbed timestamps. Daniels said they were narrowing down the suspect pool, but there were still multiple variables. Translation: they didn't know yet. So Maya kept walking, kept taking notes, kept showing up, because that was what they didn't expect. At lunch, Lily sat beside her like always. Chloe brought a new button, this one with a tiny flame printed beneath the word stand. Mason said little but stood taller near her in the hallways now. But Brittany had changed again. Since returning, she'd mostly stayed quiet. But after the assembly about the surveillance incident, she began to show signs of old patterns. A glare here, a whisper to someone just out of earshot, an eye roll when Maya passed. Nothing direct, nothing punishable, but Maya noticed. So did Chloe. She's testing the waters again, Chloe whispered one day, eyes narrowed from across the cafeteria. She's lost control, Maya said. She's trying to get it back without touching me, and if she can't, then she'll let someone else do it. That evening, Maya sat at the library table during the last period, working on her speech for the Regional Diversity Council meeting. She was representing Clearwater. Her name had been printed in the newsletter. She'd been given a lanyard, an itinerary, even a district pin. She hadn't told many people yet, not because she wasn't proud, but because she knew how quickly pride became a target. She was writing quietly when a slip of paper slid across the table from behind a thick reference book. Maya looked up. No one was there. She opened the paper. Library, backstacks, Rosheba, now, C. Her heartbeat spiked. She looked around once more, then quietly slipped from her seat and walked toward the back shelves. The library was near empty at this hour. Mr. Carter was on a call in his office. The only sound was the quiet hum of the HVAC overhead. Row 7 was the old American history section. Books no one touched anymore. Yellowed spines. Dusty jackets. As Maya turned down the aisle, she saw someone already waiting. Not Brittany. Not Sasha. Not anyone she expected. It was a girl. Freshman. Pale skin, short dark hair, freckles. Maya recognized her from the hallways but didn't know her name. The girl looked nervous, kept glancing behind her. "You're C?" Maya asked quietly. The girl shook her head. "Number, I'm just part of it." "Part of what?" The girl reached into her backpack and pulled out a folder. Not like the last one. This one was thinner. Inside were 2 printed screenshots. Emails. One from an administrator's account. One from a student's. Both referencing Maya, discussing her removal from the diversity nomination list before she was even nominated. "But they didn't remove me," Maya said. The girl nodded. "Because someone else caught it and reversed it. But they tried, before the principal even made her choice." "Who sent this?" The girl swallowed. "My sister works in the admin office after school. She overheard something, took photos, couldn't risk sending them directly, so she gave them to me. I'm supposed to get them to you." Ugh. Maya stared down at the papers. Her stomach turned. This went deeper than Belle, deeper than Brittany. This wasn't just about hallway bullies. It was the system. It was the adults. "Why are you helping me?" Maya asked. The girl looked away for a second, then answered, "Because I know what it feels like when everyone's looking at you and no one sees you." She turned and left without another word. Maya held the folder tightly, walked to Mr. Carter's office and knocked. When she showed him the contents, he closed the door. "This isn't a school problem anymore," he said. "It's a district problem." They made copies, sealed the originals. And the next day, Principal Gomez made another announcement. A third-party investigation had been launched into systemic obstruction and racial bias in student leadership nominations. Maya's name was cleared. Again. But this time, she wasn't alone when it happened. That night, she opened her notebook and wrote, "Day 42. The fire is not mine alone anymore. Others have kindled their own." She paused, then added, "North isn't a direction, it's a decision." She turned the compass note over again, and this time she smiled, because she finally understood. The underlined N wasn't pointing to a place. It was telling her to keep going. Forward. Upright. unflinching. North. On the morning of the Regional Diversity Council meeting, Maya stood in front of the mirror, hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the collar of her gray sweater. It wasn't nerves about speaking, at least not entirely. It was everything behind the moment, the hallway whispers, the notes, the videos, the silence she had endured, and the voices she'd learned to carry. Her mother stepped into the doorway holding a steaming mug. Hot chocolate, not coffee. You don't need to be jittery and brilliant. Maya smiled, taking it with a grateful nod. Thanks, Mom. You ready? Maya looked at her reflection again, not just at her clothes or hair, at her eyes. They looked older than they had in September. Not defeated, not hardened, just older. Eyes that had seen the truth and learned how to keep standing anyway. I think so, she said. The meeting was being held at the county's main civic center, a 2-story building with glass panels and flags from every school district hanging in the entryway. Students from over a dozen schools were filing in, each wearing a badge clipped to their collar or jacket. Maya's read, Clearwater High. Delegate, Maya William. She moved quietly through the lobby, checking in at the welcome table, then finding a seat near the middle of the conference room. Some kids looked confident, others looked bored, a few looked nervous, but none of them looked like they had just exposed a surveillance folder created by staff and students alike. Lily had offered to come for support, but Maya had declined. Some things, she knew now, she had to do alone, not because no one would help, but because sometimes walking into the fire proved more than just strength. It showed resolve. When her name was called near the end of the morning session, Maya rose. The room grew quiet as she stepped to the podium. A microphone waited. So did a small bottle of water. She didn't reach for either at first. She looked out into the crowd, meeting faces, some curious, some closed off, some quietly waiting to be moved. Then she began. I used to think the biggest thing in a school was the test on Friday, or the question you didn't know how to answer. I thought success was just about being smart enough or quiet enough to not get in the way. She paused. Let it breathe. But I learned that silence doesn't keep you safe. It just delays the moment they decide to come for you. Now, people leaned in. I was told I didn't belong out loud, on camera, in whispers, through emails, through fake videos. I was told by students, and I was almost told by adults. But the moment I stopped asking to be accepted was the moment I started seeing clearly. She glanced at the back of the room, imagining Brittany's stare, Belle's silence, the quiet faces who had watched her fall and still turned away. They weren't afraid of me. They were afraid of what I represented. A girl who wouldn't flinch, a voice that kept speaking even when no one clapped. And what I've come to believe is this. Real change doesn't always look like banners or speeches. Sometimes, it looks like a single hand raised when everyone else is still staring at their shoes. The room was still. Maya's voice lowered slightly. If we want diversity to mean something, it can't just be a checkbox or a headline. It has to be backed by courage, by listening, and most of all, by accountability even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it is. She looked at her printed notes, then gently folded them shut. I didn't come here to impress anyone. I came because I had no other choice, because if I didn't speak, someone else would be left alone the way I was, and I don't want silence to win again. She stepped back from the mic. The applause started slow, but then it grew, louder, stronger, not just polite, earnest. Afterward, delegates and advisors approached her one by one. Some offered compliments, others asked questions. One student, a tall boy from Eastbrook High, said quietly, "That was the first time I didn't feel like I was crazy for seeing what I see." Maya nodded. "You're not crazy. They just don't want to admit it's real." When the session ended, she rode the bus back to Clearwater in quiet reflection, her notebook open in her lap. She didn't write right away, just stared at the page. Back at school the next morning, something unexpected happened. As she walked toward her locker, Brittany was already standing there. Not leaning, not smirking, just standing. Her eyes met Maya's. Maya paused. "You need something?" Brittany's voice came out softer than Maya had ever heard it. "I saw your speech." Maya didn't respond. "I didn't think it would hit me like that," Brittany said, eyes low now. "But it did. Is this your apology?" Brittany shook her head. I already did that, and I don't expect anything back. But I do want to say something. Maya waited. Brittany continued. You didn't just survive what we did to you. You made it mean something. I wouldn't have. Maya looked at her for a long moment. Maybe not back then, she said. But people change, if they choose to. Brittany nodded once. I'm still trying. She stepped aside and walked away without another word. That afternoon, another note waited in Maya's locker. This one was different. Still unsigned, but longer, typed. You changed things. You didn't even know how many of us were watching. Still are. You made it okay to speak, even if we can't yet. I know you're wondering who I am. Maybe someday I'll tell you. For now, just know this. The compass pointed north for a reason. It pointed to you. See? Maya smiled. She folded the note carefully and tucked it between the pages of her notebook. Later that evening, she sat at her desk, opened the worn journal, and wrote, Day 47. North is no longer a place. It's a direction I carry. And now, others are walking too. She put down her pen. Outside, the wind moved gently through the trees, and inside her chest, for the first time in a long time, Maya felt something she almost didn't recognize. Peace. Not because the world had changed, but because she had. The first Monday of November brought a strange hush over Clearwater High. The trees outside had started turning a brittle amber, their leaves trembling on the edge of letting go. There was a tension in the air, but not the kind Maya had once feared. It was quieter now, curious, watchful, like the walls themselves had started paying attention. That morning, Principal Gomez called Maya into her office again. This time, she wasn't alone. Mr. Carter was already seated, along with another woman Maya didn't recognize. Elegant blazer, silver hoop earrings, a visitor's badge clipped to her lapel. Her name tag read, Dr. Elaine Peterson, District Equity Coordinator. Maya hesitated at the threshold. It's all right, Gomez said gently. Come in. She did. Saturday, clasped her hands. Dr. Peterson smiled warmly. Maya, I've heard a lot about you. I've read every report, watched your speech twice, and reviewed the notes from the digital misconduct case. I want you to know your actions have sparked changes that go beyond this school. Maya blinked. I just told the truth. Yes, Peterson said, and that is often the most radical thing anyone can do. She pulled out a folder and placed it on the desk. We'd like to launch a student-led initiative throughout the district. Something real, not just posters or assemblies. We want training, mentorship, peer advocacy, and we'd like you to help design it. Maya's breath caught. You mean, like an actual program? Not just a program, Gomez said. A blueprint, one that will carry your name. Maya stared at the folder. What would I have to do? Work with us, share your experience, help shape the curriculum, speak at 2 more events before the semester ends, and lead a mentorship circle for middle schoolers starting next spring. It was more than she expected, but not more than she could carry. I'll do it, Maya said, and something settled inside her, not pressure, but purpose. That afternoon, the hallways seemed brighter, though the lights hadn't changed. Even as students still whispered, the tones had shifted. She heard words like respect and leader woven through the noise. But not everyone had moved on. In the stairwell near the science wing, Maya found her name scratched into the metal rail, small, rough, but unmistakable. Maya equals trouble. It didn't shake her. She pulled out a black Sharpie from her backpack, walked up to it, and beneath the words, wrote in block letters, Trouble makes change. She capped the marker, put it back in her bag, and walked on. That evening, Maya sat in her room, cross-legged on the bed, notebook open. The page before her was mostly blank, except for one line. Day 50. What comes after truth? She thought about it, about the compass, the folded notes, the folders, the silence, the moments where she almost broke, and then about the people who had stayed. Lily, Mr. Carter, even Brittany, in her own faltering way. She began to write. What comes after truth is responsibility. What comes after silence is voice. What comes after fear is fire. And what comes after fire is rebuilding. Her pen hovered, then added, I'm not here just to resist. I'm here to reimagine. The next morning, as she entered the building, something stopped her. At the front of the school on the bulletin board that usually held college flyers and dance posters, someone had pinned up a large sheet of white paper. At the top, in bold marker, "What Maya taught me." Underneath, in different handwriting, were dozens of responses. That truth doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. That courage isn't about shouting. It's about staying. That the quiet girl is watching, and she matters. That I'm not alone. More were being added as students walked in. Maya stood still, reading. She didn't know who started it. Maybe it didn't matter. Maybe the point was that someone did. When she turned to go to her locker, she nearly bumped into Brittany. For once, Brittany didn't look smug, or annoyed, or ashamed, just uncertain. "There's something I want to give you," Brittany said quietly. She held out a small object wrapped in a paper napkin. Maya took it slowly and unwrapped it. It was a compass. Old, brass. The kind you'd find in an antique shop or maybe at the bottom of a grandfather's drawer. Maya looked up, stunned. "You?" she whispered. Brittany nodded. "Not all the notes, not the first ones, but the last few. I started watching, listening. You made it hard not to." Maya stared at the compass. The needle spun once, then settled. "It used to belong to my dad," Brittany said. "He was a good man, better than I've been. I thought maybe you'd keep it going in the right direction." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Maya said softly, "Thank you." Brittany gave a tiny nod and walked away. Maya held the compass in her hand. It was warm somehow. That night, she opened her notebook one more time. Day 51. The map isn't just mine anymore. Now, others carry it too. She looked down at the compass resting beside the open page. The needle didn't just point north. It pointed forward. The auditorium smelled faintly of floor polish and fresh paint, but beneath it hung a tension thick enough to weigh down the air. Rows of students fidgeted in metal chairs, some whispering, others scanning the stage with expectant eyes. It wasn't the usual Monday morning school assembly. No talent show, no pep rally. This one had been requested by the school board. Mandatory attendance, no exceptions. Maya sat near the front row beside Principal Gomez, Dr. Elaine Peterson, and a few members from the district office. She wore a plain navy sweater and dark jeans, nothing fancy. Nothing loud, but her presence was unmistakable. Calm, steady, ready. The screen behind the stage was set to project the school's seal. A microphone stood center stage beneath the harsh glare of the spotlight. "Mister," Carter leaned down to whisper, "You doing okay?" Maya gave a small nod, fingers folded tightly in her lap. "As okay as I've ever been." A minute later, Gomez stepped onto the stage and tapped the microphone. "Good morning, Clearwater High," she began, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "Today, we are not here for celebration or routine announcements. We're here to face something uncomfortable, something necessary. We are here to acknowledge Harmon, to start repairing what has been broken." She paused. "Before we begin, I need to be clear. This school stands against bullying, racism, and any act that diminishes the humanity of another student. And today, some individuals will be asked to publicly confront their actions." The room fell quiet. A shuffle near the wings of the stage drew attention. 3 students stepped out slowly: Brittany Langston, Trevor Marsh, and Olivia Beckett. They wore the school's colors but not their usual swagger. Their faces were pale, eyes lowered. Gomez gestured toward them. "These students," she said evenly, "have been involved in a series of targeted attacks, verbal harassment, digital manipulation, and coordinated efforts to humiliate a fellow classmate, Maya William." A ripple of gasps and murmurs passed through the crowd. "In accordance with school policy," Gomez continued, "they've received formal disciplinary action, including suspension. But in collaboration with the student body, the equity board, and Maya herself, a different form of reconciliation has been proposed." She stepped aside. Brittany stepped forward. Maya didn't flinch. She didn't even blink, but her fingers curled tighter in her lap. Brittany took the mic, her voice barely a whisper at first. I don't know if there's anything I can say that will fix what I did, what we did." She glanced at Trevor and Olivia. They stood stiff behind her. "I said things I can't take back. Hurtful, ugly things. And I did them because..." I thought it made me powerful, but it didn't. It just made me a coward. Brittany swallowed. I was raised better. I knew better, but I was too afraid to stand out for the right reasons. I used Maya's difference as a shield from my own insecurities. Maya's heart thudded, slow and heavy. Brittany continued. The day we cut that video, the day we pushed her at the court, when we stole her backpack, I thought it was just a game. But seeing the real footage, seeing her fight back, I realized something. Strength doesn't look like shoving someone down. It looks like standing back up. She turned slightly toward Maya. I'm sorry, Brittany said, voice trembling. I am deeply sorry, not just for what I did, but for not seeing your worth sooner. She handed the microphone to Trevor. He stepped up clumsily. I don't do speeches, but I was a jerk and a coward, and I'm sorry, Maya. You deserved better. Olivia followed. I went along with things because I didn't want to lose my place in the group. That's no excuse. I was wrong. You're the strongest person I know. They stepped back. Principal Gomez returned to the mic. Maya, you are under no obligation to forgive anyone today. This is not about closure, it's about truth. But if you wish to speak, the stage is yours. A hush blanketed the auditorium as Maya stood and walked slowly to the mic. She didn't prepare a speech. She didn't need to. She looked out across the sea of faces, many she didn't know, some who had once laughed with Brittany, others who had simply looked away. My name is Maya William, she said clearly. I am the daughter of a teacher and a retired army medic. I like puzzles and math and playing piano. I don't like crowds or confrontation, but I like the truth. A pause. I didn't come here to fight. I came to learn, to grow, and to be seen. Her voice stayed steady. When someone tells you, go back to where you came from, they are telling you that your presence is an inconvenience, that you are unworthy of being part of the same world. That's a lie. A cruel, dangerous lie. Because everyone belongs somewhere, and sometimes they belong exactly where you don't want them to be. She took a breath. I accept the apologies, not because it erases what happened, but because I refuse to let your hate take more from me than it already has. Another pause. I believe people can change. I believe silence is a form of violence. And I believe that if someone's going to stand up here and tell their truth, someone should be brave enough to listen. She stepped back from the mic, and the room, hesitant, stunned, began to applaud. First scattered, then rising, then everyone. The sound swallowed the space, not in celebration, but recognition. Dr. Peterson touched her chest, quietly blinking back tears. Maya returned to her seat. As she sat, Gomez leaned close. You changed more than a school today. That afternoon, Maya found a note in her locker. No name, just blocky handwriting. Thank you for showing us what it means to show up. The next morning, the news of the assembly had already made it to district channels. By week's end, it was featured in a short segment on local television. Maya didn't watch it. She was too busy writing curriculum drafts with Dr. Peterson and working with Lily on flyers for the mentorship circle. In her room, on a whiteboard above her desk, she'd written one sentence. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to show up anyway. She'd been showing up for 52 days now, and she wasn't done. Not by a long shot.